Hi, I'm Tony Russo, and this is a Bagel Manifesto, where I share stories about coming to terms with belief, culture, and the profound sense of loss that nobody really cares about bagels anymore. Okay, let's get into it. Before we get started, I just want to wish you all the happy holidays, whatever holidays are going on. I skipped last week in case you didn't notice, which was Thanksgiving, and I'll probably skip sometime around Christmas, New Year's. We'll see what happens. I'll be away from the 20th to the 1st, so whatever recordings I do won't have the same kind of blissful quality that you're used to if you listen to it on the podcast. The video will still be the same garbage, but what are you going to do? I'm not a video guy. This week's Notebook Dump is sponsored by the wonderful people at one of the antique stores in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, where I left it. And since I had the presence of mind to put my name and my phone number on it, they called in there and said, hey, there's a notebook here, and if you don't come pick it up, we're going to call the FBI, because clearly it was written by a maniac. But it was very kind of them to send it out, and I would tell you the business name, but I don't remember it. They're all nice. I had a nice time in Point Pleasant. Now, this week, though, I want to talk about a note that says, Billionaire Garbage Man, my billionaire mentality, thinking about my destroyed garbage cans. So, I have a really kind of interesting relationship with the town of Delmar. It's the town I live in. I do not like it. I mean, I've never been a huge fan, but it has gotten worse. I've written at length and elsewhere. You can read it if you want, but it's so tedious. About, we have like really, really dumb people in charge. And you're like, yeah, but how dumb could they be? Well, we hired a felon to run our town. There was a gentleman who I knew when I was covering Berlin, Maryland, and he stole a bunch of money from Berlin and was convicted. So Delmar hired him because they were paying this black woman way too much to do the job for the last 30 years. So they felt it was time for a change to a white thief. I'm not saying it was about race. These are just facts. I mean, maybe she quit. Maybe she was like, I can't work for people this stupid. And you know what? Tell you what, I wouldn't blame her. I've quit jobs because I couldn't stand to be around how stupid everybody was. So I'm not saying they fired her. I'm not saying it's about race. I'm saying we used to have a competent black woman in charge. Now we have a felon in charge. Read into that what you will. But I think this was before they hired the felon. I don't really recall. I lose track. One of the garbage men had a temper tantrum in front of my house with my garbage cans. It had been raining for a while, and the garbage cans don't have tops. The reason they don't have tops is because the garbage men kicked them around, and I'm not buying new ones. I gave them, and this is where I feel like a billionaire. I paid my taxes. I gave you good garbage cans. If you have a bad day at work and kick the hell out of my garbage cans and they don't have tops anymore, that's really between you and your God. That has nothing to do with me. And so I guess it was maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I came home and I put a video up. I'll have a link to the video in the show notes. And, I'll tell you what, if I can do it, I'll actually put the video in the video if you guys want to watch the video, which might be fun. But I got home one day and I just took a video of the entire block, and in front of every house, the empty garbage cans were neatly stacked. And in my house, they were just, all over the front lawn, if you will. I don't know why. I have a very good relationship with my postmistress though. So I don't want to jeopardize that by kind of painting the town employees or the people that work here with a broad brush. And I don't think the guy who destroyed my garbage cans even works here anymore. They have, I guess, whoever they can find to pick up the garbage from week to week. I don't believe they're the same people with any kind of regularity. But over the course of, I guess, the last 6 months, the garbage can has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And I keep saying, well, just get a new one. And I will. You know what? I probably will now that I've put this out there and humiliated myself by just showing what an absolute prick I can be about this kind of thing. Um, and I accept that. I mean, I accept that I am the bad guy in this story, but I think one of the other things that it can help us look at is why billionaires don't feel like they're the bad guys. They're like, I did what I was supposed to do. I gave my money to the government. If they don't want to use it to run the government, that's really between them and the morons who keep giving them jobs. So that's what made me feel very much like the like a billionaire when I thought of it, because it's not that I don't have the money to replace the garbage can, and it's not that I don't know that the garbage can needs replacing. There's one we only put cardboard in it at this point. Oh, no, that's right. I'm sorry. I don't recycle. Del Mar decided that they didn't want to. We had a vote, and they decided to not provide recycling services because it was too expensive. So if you want to recycle, you can bring your stuff to the recycling center. But I've taken kind of a broken windows approach to living here in Del Mar. If you're not familiar with the broken windows theory, which has been debunked, I know, no need to comment. The idea came from this notion that deteriorating neighborhoods deteriorated more if they weren't kept up. So you have a vacant building, somebody throws a rock through the glass, no one repairs the glass. Before too long, someone else throws a rock, someone spray paints. The next thing you know, you have carjackings. As I say, I think that's been debunked, but the premise of it really appeals to me. And so I abide by my neighbors' wishes. So my neighbors decided that we weren't recycling anymore. I mean, there is a recycling center a block from my house, but I don't work for the town. And if my neighbors have decided that we're not recycling, well, who am I? We live in a democracy, a fragile, messed up one, but one of the things that I think it's easy to forget because we get so hyped up and so combative is that, we vote and then we abide. Well, some of us abide with the results of the vote. And when the town votes that they don't want to be a good town, I mean, I can't. What am I going to do? I'm going to be a crusader. I'm going to go knock door to door and say, hey, we need recycling. They know that we could recycle. They don't want to. It would cost them an extra $3. And it's $3 that they don't think our town is worth. And that's kind of the flipping it on its head. And then again, like kind of like a billionaire attitude, like they know what they don't want to pay for. And if that's okay with them, it's always going to be okay with me. I just have to participate more. So when I have the opportunity to not recycle, I don't recycle. I recycle when I'm in civilization. When I go to civilized places, like pretty much any other town on the planet, there's a recycling bin. You throw your stuff in the recycling bin. I don't mind pitching in, but I'm not going to take a day out of my week. I'm not going to keep my garbage clean long enough to bring it all the way to the recycling center because it's not something that we value here. And I need to just accept that. And I do. So anyway, we can only use this garbage can, which is pretty much like it's ribbons. Again, I'll put a picture up in the show notes so you can see it. And I don't know why I'm so mad at the garbage people. I mean, it really does make their lives a little bit harder, and there's no need for me to make their lives harder, but it's also there's no need for them to make their lives harder. I mean, none of my neighbors have lids left over either, because it's not something that the garbage men are interested in preserving. And again, this whole broken windows thing, if they don't care what kind of conditions they leave the garbage cans in, then why should I? And because it's the right thing to do, I got to tell you, it gets exhausting after a while. You know, if you try to do the right thing for long enough, you realize that sometimes you have to decide whether it's worth it. And sometimes it's just not worth it. Recycling isn't worth it to me because it reminds me about how much contempt my neighbors have for the idea of recycling. Taking care of my garbage cans doesn't matter to me because it only bothers me that my neighbors don't care whether or not our garbage cans are in good condition. And it's all that kind of thing. I mean, I'm blessed not to live, and I don't use blessed often or lightly, but I'm blessed not to live in a homeowners association. I would last 13 seconds in one. It was never even on the short list because I certainly don't want to follow my neighbor's rules. But when they give me this opportunity, when they say this is how we feel about the town, I like to reflect that, because I think if you asked the regular person in Delmar, they would say, no, Delmar is a nice place to live and we should take care of it. If you ask them if by taking care of it you mean, you know, things like well-maintained sanitation or well-maintained streets, or recycling, and said, well, yeah, it's going to cost you an extra $33 a year. There's no way. There's no world, you know, and that's what we nickel and dime ourselves. We've nickeled and dime ourselves into being a shithole, which is fine. You know, my house is probably worth, you know, 2/3 more than what I paid for it. And that is given that it's in a crappy place. So I'm perfectly acceptable. I'm perfectly happy with that. So anyway, that's how I'm like a billionaire. If you have $1 billion to give anyone and you want me to put my money where my mouth is, please feel free. Send me the $1 billion. I will show you what a jerk I'm capable of being. You know, next week, if I think of it, I might want to tell you another story of my little petty revenges, because it's pathetic. And, you know, I don't want to turn this manifesto into psychoanalysis, but maybe if I continue to report on my sins, I can rectify them. But that's it. Have a great December, and I'll catch you next time. So, what do you think? Even though I've been the only one talking for a while, I'd love to get your impression. You can shoot me an email at bytonyrusso@gmail.com. You can support me and the show by buying my book, Dragged into the Light: Truthers, Reptilians, Super Soldiers, and Death Inside an Online Cult. It's available everywhere you get books. The audio version's out now, and I'd love for you to get that as well, or instead. You can also sign up for the newsletter at abagelmanifesto.com. You can follow me on social at bytonyrusso on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This show was written and produced by me, Tony Russo. Keep the faith.